Oh my god! Nuclear holocaust on the drones!
Hello and welcome to UC Davis StarCraft. I'm AlphaFerg, and I'm going to be casting a little game from Tbeezy. This is from the Playhem, I believe. Tbeezy, of course, Tim from the UC Davis Club. And this is FEARnoblesse. He is not the Korean noblesse, as Tim's about to find out. But he's a pretty good player anyway. This is, I believe it was from the Playhem. I saw Tim play this game out of the corner of my eye when I was at work, and I saw what he did, and I was like, you gotta give me the replay. So hopefully you guys appreciate Tim in this TvT matchup on Tal'Darim Altar. I really like this map. It's pretty much guaranteed that you're gonna have a long game, and in TvT that's always nice. You get to see all of the different intricacies between player style, whether they try to go, you know, lots of bio, whether they try to go tech, or as perhaps MMA versus Alive in GSL a few days ago. If you try to go really fast Raven and use auto turrets to tank while your Marines do damage. Pretty interesting builds we're seeing in TvT. Always a fun matchup, and we'll see what happens in this game. Both players not doing anything crazy, no proxy racks. This is probably going to be into a nice long game. But we'll see what happens. I don't remember too much of how the openings were. I just remember being really excited by the end of it. So we'll see what happens. Both players pretty even. Tim getting an earlier gas. In fact, it just finished, and no gas in sight for Noblesse. Probably going to go early CC. Wouldn't be surprised to see that, especially because you can get a nice bunker in this position right here to defend against that base. You can see he's already stockpiling a lot of minerals, harvesting the little blue crystal while he waits for 400, and he's going to put it down pretty fast. In the meantime, Tim is getting up an early tech lab. No other production buildings on the way, and he's getting a really fast second gas. So he'll have both gas up before FEARnoblesse, who just started his first, manages to get out. And he is going, Tim is going early Reaper, and possibly into even more tech after that. In the meantime, Noblesse puts down his command center, and if Tim can attack this right, he will be in a really good position. He hasn't scouted out the opponent's base. You can see he's rallied this barracks over to where he sees there might be an opportunity, because if he doesn't scout anything here, which he does, then he doesn't have to change his rally point. But he sees their stuff here. He's going to change his rally point. You can already tell that he didn't bother changing it, but that's okay. Yeah, see, he's just controlling it. It's okay. But in the meantime, he is putting down a little off-the-center factory, trying to hide from any scans, and we'll see how much damage he manages to do. Meanwhile, back in Noblesse's base, he has gone double gas, getting up a factory, and he has one Marine against a Reaper, and will it do enough damage before the command center finishes? Oh, it does! With 12 HP left. This poor command center, he was about to be all happy and completed, but his life dream has not been accomplished. But now he's done. Now he's sitting happy. And a mule going down at that base. So now Noblesse is going to be able to get a pretty strong 2-base economy. More Reapers out on the field for Tbeezy. And it looks like he's going to try to use this ramp, but Noblesse getting a nice read. Is already sending a Marine up there. He knows the weak parts of this main base. He will lose the Marine, but Tim's actually going to run away, and I don't like this. I remember seeing this, and I saw there was only one Marine here. Noblesse had 2 Marines up here, but with 2 Reapers you can do a lot more damage. Maybe snipe some SCVs, but in the meantime he saved both of those Reapers. He's building more, so he's actually going for a Reaper mass, but one of his problems is that siege tanks are going to be out soon, and if he does not do enough damage in that time, he's just not going to have enough stuff. And here comes the 3 Reapers, and they will be enough to fight off these SCVs, but with 4 more on the way, I don't think that Tim's going to be able to stand too much more damage, and he's going to rely on what he's doing now, which is getting SCVs. He's a little supply blocked. I hate to see that, and the command center is only halfway done. But now he is back to supply under, and he's getting a lot of Hellions. He has a bunch of Reapers, really good against Marines. He's getting a dropship, but Noblesse is actually being really smart, and just putting a tank up here is pretty smart. You're not going to want to run Reapers into tank fire, and once Siege finishes, those Reapers are not going to have a window of attack, and with Marines up here, it's pretty smart. The only reason I would think you would fail at this point is if you get just all-in and smashed, just because it's such an economic opening. But if Banshees flew in right now, that'd be horrible, that kind of stuff. But nothing too crazy. He's getting his own medevacs out, and now here comes the push for Tim. He has 4 Reapers and Hellions. His command center is finishing. Take a look at the supply really early. You can just see Noblesse is way up on SCVs. That early command center just did so well. And Tim's going to try to move in now with his 4 Reapers and 3 Hellions with the medevac. Reapers with the medevac are pretty good, but not when they're dying that fast. Oh, and a siege tank is just shelling them. Look at this positioning. Tim had commented that the siege tank positioning was just so smart, and not too many SCVs go down. 6 total from both of these harasses, and this siege tank is in great positioning as well. He's got the medevac trying to scout out. Oh no, he's dropping directly into the siege tank fire. Really good positioning. If you're playing TvT, here we go. And you're fearing something from Reapers. This is really good tank positioning on the other side of the command center. So the SCVs and the command center can tank some of that damage. SCVs, you know, not the greatest tanks, but when siege tanks do that much damage, not too bad to have. And this position as well. Very good. In the meantime, it looks like I missed some Banshee harass, but it didn't do anything. Banshee at half health heading back, so I can only assume it got scouted out pretty early. In the meantime... Oh wait, no. That's Tim's Banshee. And that's what I was talking about, right? If you have a Banshee, Cloak Banshee, what do you have? You don't have an engineering bay completed. It's not done yet, and it's just going to do a lot of damage. He's picking off siege tanks. Not sure that's the greatest decision. Especially now that it looks like Noblesse has saved up a scan, and the Viking is going to be in pretty good position. It didn't do too much SCV damage. He killed 9. You can see he's still behind economically. He's catching up, though. And it looks like he's going to start trying to take his third. He does have a decent number of Marines and siege tanks. Let's take a look at the numbers. He is ahead in Marines. He's behind a bit on siege tanks, but he has 2 Banshees, which can actually hold off a Marine tank push pretty well, especially with Cloak. Noblesse getting a Viking out on the field with a lot of medevacs. It should be pretty even. I'd say it's pretty even at this point. Another Banshee trying to get in there. It looks like it did finish taking out the siege tank, but that's okay. Noblesse is really worried about Banshee, or about Reapers. You can just put a supply depot up there and have a pretty good scout, but it looks like Noblesse is gonna try to move out or something. I think, yeah, Tim is putting down his third. He knows he's a little bit behind in economy. He needs to catch up. He's a little bit behind on supply. But with Banshees, he should have a pretty decent window to do that if Noblesse chooses to push. And you can see he is gathering up his forces right outside of his natural. Huh. Pretty slow game. Both players playing pretty high APM, 100, much better than me. And Tim is just going to look like he's going to focus on pretty standard Marine tank from this point on, getting out another factory. He's getting the reactor medevacs ready with Vikings and stuff like that. But Noblesse actually does have a nice Viking count in this map, and Tim is going to try to do some damage with these Banshees as opposed to defending with them. This is a pretty good position, though, to defend from, especially if he runs his units right into it. We'll see what he elects to do. 5 tanks to only 2, or 4. But positioning is all that matters. Vikings seeing the damage there. So the siege tanks are going to have the range with sighting from the Vikings. But if Tim... Oh, but if not, if he loses all the Vikings, really careless move. Almost loses all of them, and now the Vikings are trying to move in. They're sighting for the siege tanks, but he lost pretty much all of the Marines. He has 3 tanks to 4. Actually, that's really nice scouting, able to be done with that. He might lose this, but oh, great positioning from the siege tank. Takes out. Oh no, poor Marines. And he's going to get Marine dropped right on the siege tanks. They're going to do a ton of damage. And if he's not careful, he will lose both siege tanks. He loses one. Another is almost dead, but he manages to take out the drop and a whole medevac. There's only one left, and the Vikings are going to be able to snipe the last one. There are only 3 tanks left in this push, and Tim has secured his orbital command. Not too much damage there. He didn't lose any workers, so he should be okay. And he's produced a lot of Marines back here. He'll be able to get some medevacs to heal them up. Actually, he's just getting Vikings. We'll see what happens. And both players getting some upgrades. Pretty safe. Pretty standard stuff. Noblesse is now getting his 3rd, but he has a huge scary push coming out. That is a lot of units, and Tim is going to have to play very, very well to hold it off because he has a lot of surface area to cover. Unfortunately, this map just puts your butt out right here where you can get sieged. Not very fun stuff, and Tim is actually floating a little bit too many minerals that I would like to see, and he's trying to move out at the same time. It's all going to depend on how these armies engage, who gets their siege tanks up first, and what happens. Tim is sieging up, and Noblesse is moving in his units, only now sieging, but all of the Marines, there are many more Marines, and that is a huge loss for Noblesse. Interesting Slayers Boxers build. That's right, that's what it was, and here are all of the Marines trying to get in here and snipe the siege tank. It's not going to be enough. And now there are only these siege tanks in this push. He really just threw away the Marines. I would have liked him to see him bring his siege tanks along and just do a slower push. That would have almost been a victory, but he lost a lot of Marines, moving them up into Tim's reinforcements. And now Tim is going to be able to rebuild. He's way behind in the siege tank count. He's not ahead. You know, it's 9-3. That is never a good position. But he does actually have, you know, Vikings and medevacs and stuff, and he'll be able to see with that supply depot when he pushes the 3rd. He doesn't have many Marines at all, and that's where Tim's ahead. He has, you know, all of those Marines. Actually, 29-30. Where are all of? Oh, they're all hanging out back here. But the siege tank count, that's a scary part. You never want to see this kind of force when you have, you know, 4 siege tanks. And it looks like Noblesse is moving up to take the 3rd. And you're in an interesting position here as a Terran, because if you move in here and try to siege this base, you can get flanked. You can get attacked from both sides, and that's not good. You know, don't get me wrong. And here come the siege tanks. They're in a great position now, and just going to lift off. Will a lot of SCVs die? 3 get picked off right there, and not too careful. Ooh, loses a siege tank to siege to this group here. And Tim is going to have to find a way to retake his base. The only weakness, and it looks like Noblesse is actually just going to move back, aside from this tank who's trying to be a hero. And these Marines, which unfortunately also try to be heroes, but not that great of heroes. But in the meantime, Tim is getting up a starport with a tech lab, which is a really interesting decision at this point. He's also putting down a 4th command center right down here. He's going to try to get some minerals down there. But Noblesse, just like, look at the tank count. It's 11-5. It's not good. He's behind on Marines, barely ahead on Vikings, which doesn't matter that much. Behind in medevacs. But Tim actually has a lot of SCVs, a lot more SCVs. It looks like Noblesse just forgot to get SCVs, and that might be the window that Tim needs to do some damage. It looks like he's going to also get a medevac up here. And look at this drop positioning. Noblesse being really, really not that smart. Oh, but it looks like here is the missile turret that he needs to fight off. Will the drop happen in time? In the meantime, a huge push coming out. Those tank numbers are just adding up, and they're not going anywhere else. And Tim is going to have to try to hold this again. Looks like he already has prepared for pushes into the